Center for Southeast Asian Social Studies, or CESAS, is a research institute of Universitas Gadjah Mada that focuses on social issues in Southeast Asia. The research center was founded on 1st April 1986 with the name of Pusat Antar Universitas, or PAU Social. In 2001, the name was changed to CESAS in order to emphasize the commitment towards social studies in Southeast Asia. As a research institute under Universitas Gadjah Mada, CESAS has three main working areas that are strictly related to each other: research, education, and community service. These three working areas are addressed by two divisions, the Research and Cooperation Division and the Publication and Training Division. The working programs held by CESAS are aimed to optimize research and education to render a better service to the community. Since 2016, CESAS UGM has been nominated by the Ministry of Research, Technology, and Higher Education of the Republic of Indonesia, known as Kemenristekdikti, as the only center of excellence in the field of social studies. In 2017, CESAS was appointed by Kemenristekdikti to implement the World-Class Professor, or WCP program, with the aim to optimize researchers' capacity to increase publications and cooperation for research at the international level with professors from all over the world. Vision. As the Center of Excellence in Social Research focusing on Southeast Asian studies and works as a bridge between scholars and research institutions to collaborate actively on academic research in Southeast Asia as well as on a global scale. Mission: producing high-quality multidisciplinary research focusing on Southeast Asia, providing basic information for policy recommendation and enhancing awareness of the society towards the studies of Southeast Asia, forging sustainable partnerships with other research centers which focus on Southeast Asian studies from all around the world. CESAS has several programs, such as IKAT, the Indonesian Journal of Southeast Asian Studies, is an academic, open access, and peer-reviewed journal about Southeast Asian societies and cultures. Symposium on Social Science, or SOSS. SOSS is a biennial event organized by CESAS to encourage a more significant role of social science in Indonesia and globally. Southeast Asia Conference on Media, Cinema, and Art, or CMCA, is a conference focused on media, cinema, and art. MMAT, or Teaching and Researching in Southeast Asia. Seagate, C-Chat, C-Talk, C-Movie, Internship. CESAS UGM has several partnerships with both domestic and international institutions, such as Pacific Media Center, AUT, New Zealand, Department of Social and Cultural Anthropology, Freiburg University, Germany, University of Oslo, Norway, College of Innovation, Thammasat University, International Relations Department, Universitas Islam Indonesia, Ludwig Maximilians University, Germany, Faculty of Arts, University of Sydney, Australia, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka, Mahidol University, Thailand, Purbanchal University, Nepal, Sogang Institute for East Asian Studies, Sogan University, Republic of Korea, Southeast Asian Studies Program, National University of Singapore, Department of Southeast Asian Studies, Rheinische Friedrich Wilhelm Universität Bonn, Germany, Faculty of Liberal Arts, Thammasat University, Thailand, the American Institute for Indonesian Studies, or IFIS, TDMRC, Universitas Syah Kuala, Aceh, COREM, Universitas Diponegoro, Semarang, the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, or FES, Indonesia, Language Institute, Nakhon Pathom Ratchaphat University, Thailand, International Indonesian Forum for Asian Studies, or IIFAS, Mission of Japan to ASEAN, 1 Billion Rising Indonesia. Center for Southeast Asian Social Studies, or CESAS, is a research institute of Universitas Gadjah Mada that focuses on social issues in Southeast Asia. The research center was founded on 1st April 1986 with the name of Pusat Antar Universitas, or PAU Social. In 2001, the name was changed to CESAS in order to emphasize the commitment towards social studies in Southeast Asia. As a research institute under Universitas Gadjah Mada, CESAS has three main working areas that are strictly related to each other: research, education, and community service. These three working areas are addressed by two divisions: the Research and Cooperation Division and the Publication and Training Division. The working programs held by CESAS are aimed to optimize research and education to render a better service to the community. Since 2016, CESAS UGM has been nominated by the Ministry of Research, Technology, and Higher Education of the Republic of Indonesia, known as Kemenristek-Dikti, as the only center of excellence in the field of social studies. In 2017, CESAS was appointed by Kemenristek-Dikti to implement the World Class Professor, or WCP program, with the aim to optimize researchers' capacity to increase publications and cooperation for research at the international level with professors from all over the world. Vision. As the center of excellence in social research focusing on Southeast Asian studies and works as a bridge between scholars and research institutions to collaborate actively on academic research in Southeast Asia as well as on a global scale. Mission: producing high-quality multidisciplinary research focusing on Southeast Asia, providing basic information for policy recommendation and enhancing awareness of the society towards the studies of Southeast Asia, forging sustainable partnerships with other research centers which focus on Southeast Asian studies from all around the world. CESAS has several programs, such as IKAT, the Indonesian Journal of Southeast Asian Studies, is an academic, open access, and peer-reviewed journal about Southeast Asian societies and cultures. Symposium on Social Science, or SOSS. SOSS is a biennial event organized by CESAS to encourage a more significant role of social science in Indonesia and globally. Southeast Asia Conference on Media, Cinema, and Art, or CMCA, is a conference focused on media, cinema, and art. MMAT, or Teaching and Researching in Southeast Asia. Seagate, C-Chat, C-Talk, C-Movie, Internship. CESAS UGM has several partnerships with both domestic and international institutions, such as Pacific Media Center, AUT, New Zealand, Department of Social and Cultural Anthropology, Freiburg University, Germany, University of Oslo, Norway, College of Innovation, Thammasat University, International Relations Department, Universitas Islam Indonesia, Ludwig Maximilians University, Germany, Faculty of Arts, University of Sydney, Australia, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka, Mahidol University, Thailand, Purbanchal University, Nepal, Sogang Institute for East Asian Studies, Sogan University, Republic of Korea, Southeast Asian Studies Program, National University of Singapore, Department of Southeast Asian Studies, Rheinische Friedrich Wilhelm Universität Bonn, Germany, Faculty of Liberal Arts, Thammasat University, Thailand, the American Institute for Indonesian Studies, or IFIS, TDMRC, Universitas Syah Kuala, Aceh, COREM, Universitas Diponegoro, Semarang, the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, or FES, Indonesia, Language Institute, Nakhon Pathom Ratchaphat University, Thailand, International Indonesian Forum for Asian Studies, or IIFAS, Mission of Japan to ASEAN, 1 Billion Rising Indonesia. Center for Southeast Asian Social Studies, or CESAS, is a research institute of Universitas Gadjah Mada that focuses on social issues in Southeast Asia. The research center was founded on 1st April 1986 with the name of Pusat Antar Universitas, or PAU Social. In 2001, the name was changed to CESAS in order to emphasize the commitment towards social studies in Southeast Asia. As a research institute under Universitas Gadjah Mada, CESAS has three main working areas that are strictly related to each other: research, education, and community service. These three working areas are addressed by two divisions, the Research and Cooperation Division and the Publication and Training Division. The working programs held by CESAS are aimed to optimize research and education to render a better service to the community. Since 2016, CESAS UGM has been nominated by the Ministry of Research, Technology, and Higher Education of the Republic of Indonesia, known as Kemenristekdikti, as the only center of excellence in the field of social studies. In 2017, CESAS was appointed by Kemenristekdikti to implement the World-Class Professor, or WCP program, with the aim to optimize researchers' capacity to increase publications and cooperation for research at the international level with professors from all over the world. Vision. As the Center of Excellence in Social Research focusing on Southeast Asian studies and works as a bridge between scholars and research institutions to collaborate actively on academic research in Southeast Asia as well as on a global scale. Mission: producing high-quality multidisciplinary research focusing on Southeast Asia, providing basic information for policy recommendation and enhancing awareness of the society towards the studies of Southeast Asia, forging sustainable partnerships with other research centers which focus on Southeast Asian studies from all around the world. CESAS has several programs, such as ICAT, the Indonesian Journal of Southeast Asian Studies, is an academic, open access, and peer-reviewed journal about Southeast Asian societies and cultures. Symposium on Social Science, or SOSS. SOSS is a biennial event organized by CESAS to encourage a more significant role of social science in Indonesia and globally. Southeast Asia Conference on Media, Cinema, and Art, or CMCA, is a conference focused on media, cinema, and art. MMAT, or Teaching and Researching in Southeast Asia. Seagate, CChat,
Okay, good afternoon to all presenters and participants. Welcome to the Southeast Asia Conference on Media, Cinema, and Arts 2021 on panel B3 on media and pandemic COVID-19. On behalf of the committee, I'd like to apologize for the delay of the panel session, but we're going to start the session as of now. My name is Dia, and I will be moderating our session for today. We will be listening to three presentations on media reporting on COVID-19 news, the precariousness of freelance journalists during the pandemic, and how information literacy can subdue vaccine misinformation among youth. Very interesting topics, and I know that we are all very much looking forward to listening to the presentation. However, before we start, please allow me to share some of technicalities to make sure everyone is on the same page. So first, for the presenters, each of the presenters will be given around 15 to 20 minutes to share their research. So please allow me to directly interrupt your presentation 2 minutes before the end of your presentation time. I will also notify you through your chat box. And after all presenters shared their presentation, we will move to the question and answer session, which will last for around 15 to 30 minutes. Should participants here and presenters have questions, please do share your question on the chat box. You do not have to wait until our presenter finish presenting their research, but just please write it down on the chat box. Or if you wish to ask the question directly, you can also raise your hand during the Q&A session. And please do let us know your name and to whom the question is addressed if you write your question on the chat box. Now, I hope that we are all clear on the technicalities. I would like to greet our presenter first. First, we have Raden Aditya Mutwarolokita and Mario Antonius Birowo from Atmajaya Yogyakarta University. I would like to greet the first presenter. Are they already here? Okay, seems like we're still waiting for the first presenter, but we're going to move to the second presenter, Rana Akbari Fitriawan from Gajah Mada University. I think Rana is already here. Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon, Nadia.
Okay, I hope. I hope you are ready with the presentation, yeah, Mas Rana. And the next presenter will be Mia Angelin from Bina Nusantara University. Hello, Mia. How are you?
Hi, Mbak Dia. I'm great, thank you.
Hello. Oh, hi, Mbak Mia. Nice to meet you. Okay. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our first presenter, Mas Rana, who will be presenting his topic on the precariousness of freelance journalists during pandemic COVID-19. Please, Mas Rana, the time and screen are yours.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Dia. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, Mas Rana.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I have sent my video to the committee, but I don't know, somehow the video is disappear. Yeah. Okay. In this session, I want to share my research. Actually, this research is a part of my research at Universitas Gadjah Mada. I am a lecturer at Telkom University, Bandung, and I'm studying at Universitas Gadjah Mada. And this research is part of my research with Mas Budi Rawanto. I think we all know who is Mas Budi and Mas Oki Rahadianto Sutopo. They are lecturer at Visipol and also at Cultural and Media Studies. Okay. I want to present my research, precariousness of freelance journalists during COVID-19 pandemic. And this is a part of my research, Patipus journalism, study of political economy on digital journalism. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. I think it's different slide. Maybe may I share with my slide, Mbak Dia?
Yes, Mas Rana, you can present your slide.
Okay, thank you. Because of some revision. Okay. Okay, can you see the slide,
Yes.
Mbak Dia?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect, Mas Rana.
Okay. This research based on my experience and my observation about the activities of freelance journalists. I've been observing for maybe 3 or 5 years, and I thought that it relate with global journalism. Here is Hayes. I state from Hayes that freelance journalists increase every year, and in the UK, freelance journalists increased by 67% from 2000 to 2015. And in several Central and Eastern European countries, also freelancing also is the major form of work in journalism. Some of the literature focuses on the newsroom as the unit of analysis. For example, Cohen has investigated working conditions for freelance journalists in the digital age, arguing that freelance journalism or freelance journalists contracts are increasingly precarious, intense, and that freelancers have witnessed a decline in both incomes and control. And last year, I found that IFJ, or International Federation of Journalists, report that 3 in 4 journalists have faces official restriction, obstruction, or intimidation in reporting on COVID-19. According to a major news survey of more than 1,300 frontline journalists in 77 countries. What about in Indonesia? I think freelance journalists in Indonesia have the same condition. They had a higher vulnerability or precariousness in terms of occupational health and safety, as well as socio-economic conditions during the COVID pandemic. And Alliance Journalists of Independence, or AJI, last year state that the precariousness to be exposed to the virus were due to the non-fulfillment of work equipment standard, hard protocols when interacting with news source, when interviewing, or some like that, and inadequate health facilities. And the other hand, they're treating global economic condition during the pandemic from 2019, which adversely affected the company revenues. Consequently, they are also threatened with being dismissed from work, late, or non-payment of their wages. And this study, as I said, aims to determine the factor that contribute to the precariousness of freelance journalists and how the freelance journalists negotiate in the midst of pandemic COVID-19. And I think it will be very interesting thing if you all can give me a feedback or question or something to improve my research, this research. Okay, for the conceptual, I refer to political economy of labor. Maybe here some scholars know Moscow, Vincent Moscow, for economy political communication. But in this research, I refer to political economy of labor. Scholarship in the political economy, as Moscow said, of communication has tended to cluster around the exploration of 3 intervenes: media, messages, and audiences. But although the field has produced rich varied work, one aspect has received too little attention is labor. For the second one, I refer to standing or guy standing about the new precariat. He said that commodification has been extended to every aspect of life, for example, the family, education system, labor institution, etc. And precariat is precariousness with proletariat. So, and the third concept digital labor, I refer to Fuchs, but in this research, I borrow from Nielsen. Digital labor is defined as the study of how both digital and network technologies act to shape contemporary labor market, work processes, and the boundaries of work. And the last one, for the context to Southeast Asia, I refer to Drog that he stated that there are two crises in the journalism during the COVID-19 pandemic. For the first, financial crisis refers to the added pressure of generating revenues stemming from declining profits, ad profits, tighter competition, and decreasing willingness to pay for professionally produced news. And functional crisis refers to the declining relevance and meaning of journalism for various groups and communities in society. For the method, I use new ethnography from Sauko and virtual ethnography from Hein. And I have been observing and interviewing face-to-face and virtually with about 15 freelance journalists, especially in West Java and some of Jakarta, and two from another city in Indonesia. And I interview a journalist professional association. There are Indonesian Journalist Association, or PWI, Alliance of Independent Journalists, or AJI, and Indonesian Television Journalist Association, or IJTI. And I found that for the structural factor, there are hierarchy and relations in the newsroom. Set aside the freelance journalists and reduction. I found, at least for classification of freelancer journalists, the first, there is a contract and identity has identity card or press ID, but valid for years and no updating for the press ID. And of course, it against the law or Indonesian labor law. And the second one, they have no contract, but only have press ID. And the third, they have press ID and no contract. And the worst, they have no contract nor press ID. For other names, we can call them contributor, stringer, wire, correspondent, and some tuyul. The tuyul is a kind of mix of what that body of a baby who can steal money from the rich family. No contract means no insurance, no BPJS. And I found a new scheme contract about this contract is like a partnership. For example, in Kumparan, Suara.com or PRMN. But in this partnership, there are no equality. There are no equality for the journalists. I found also that the journalists have to make or creating their own personal protective equipment. For the example, in this slide, I show you for one informant. He said that because of the scarcity of masks, forced him to use one mask for 3 days. Every time I go home from coverage, the side of the mask that sticks to my face is sprayed with alcohol, even though this is not medically recommended, of course. And for the other example, the journalist number 2, he has to wear a raincoat made of plastic kresek for 10,000 rupiah. And after he wear it, he throw away immediately. And from this situation, I found that they have to negotiate, they have to survive with negotiate in some way. For the first, they have to negotiate it with government according to association. PWI, for example, has asked for help from the government, but is still being neglected by the local government. For the second one, they trying to maintain the quality of the product because they believe that the quality of news is highly correlated with the well-being of journalists. And the last one, they trying to negotiate with union, labor union. For example, at Pikiran Rakyat. Pikiran Rakyat is the most or the biggest media in Jawa Barat. This I show you. It is he is RI. He one of contributor of Kompas TV. He working at Cirebon, West Java, and he trying to find another job or some business. He sell meat, chicken meat, and egg, chicken egg for some weekend or weekday. And for the left, this is raincoat, some raincoat or coat for made from Iqbal. Iqbal is one of freelancer journalists at Associated Press in Bandung or some other city. For that condition, I conclude that there is an equal power relation that influences to precariousness of freelance journalists, even though in the new scheme of media, and the freelance journalists try to survive with negotiated in some way, and need to work on pressing the government to set standard for journalist wages and safety. I think that's all for this presentation, Madia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mas Rana, for the very eye-opening research. We know that pandemic COVID-19 has impacted work in so many levels, including freelance journalists. And despite being a freelance may be a choice for some people, but this kind of position also put individual on vulnerable side, if I may say, during this pandemic exposed the vulnerability of this position. We will discuss more onto that later on Q&A sessions. And once again, I would like to remind all the participants and presenters, please, if you have any questions, you can write it down on the chat box. Next, I would like to invite Mbak Mia from Bina Nusantara University, who will present her research on information literacy and vaccine misinformation among youth. Mbak Mia, time and screen are yours, please.
Thank you, Mbak Dia. Can I share my own PPT?
Yes, you can, Mbak Mia.
Okay. Okay, I hope you all can see my screen. Wait.
Yes,
Can you see
I
my
can.
screen clearly?
Yes, I can see your screen, but I think it is somehow too wide, so there are some parts that is being not included on the presentation.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah, this one is perfect.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Dia. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity so I can present our research paper today. our research paper titled Race to the Finish Line, How Information Literacy Can Subdue Vaccine Misinformation. This is a group effort. So my group consists of 5 people. I'm Mia Angeline, and there are also Miss Amia Lutfia, Miss Yuanita Safitri, Miss Maria Anggia, and Mr. Daru Wibowo. All of us comes from Communication Department, BINUS University. So first, I want to start with the COVID-19 and vaccination landscape in Indonesia. As we all know, Southeast Asia was the first region that contracted COVID-19 back in 2020. And Indonesia was also one of the first nation that has over 1 million number of cases. The good news is Indonesia was also one of the first nation who started the COVID-19 vaccination campaign. But the implementation of vaccination can be a whole lot different story. Currently, per October, 18.6% of population are fully vaccinated in Indonesia. This is quite a small number if we compare to other nations in the region. Skepticism shrouded over the vaccination program in Indonesia, while infection and deaths are rising faster than the vaccine distribution. Not to mention technical challenges such as logistic distribution, distrust and misinformation about the vaccine. One interesting point that we discover along the initial observation is social acceptance of the vaccine itself. This is becoming a major obstruction of mass vaccination program in the country. The most common mistrust around the vaccine is some people believe it had hazardous side effects or was forbidden for Muslims. And currently, Indonesia is looking at a 2 to 3 years projection to get around 180 million of population to be fully vaccinated. The country manages to inoculate around 50,000 people per day. However, this number is not enough to cover the projection to 2 or 3 years. The country's economic growth determines with the faster the vaccination program can be implemented. Now, based on this fact, social acceptance of the vaccine has become equally important as effective vaccine distribution across remote areas. And we are focusing to subdue this misinformation so people can accept the vaccination more openly. It came to our research questions. How was information literacy among youths to prevent vaccine misinformation, especially if we dissect the data based on demographical variables? And for our literature review, we started by defining digital literacy and digital skills. In the simplest term, digital literacy means an individual's ability to live in a society where information and communication are increasingly done via digital channels. Now, while information literacy refers to a frame of reference for consuming information, where users are encouraged to seek relevant information and consider the broader context in which information is discovered. The key element of information literacy is not how to use technology, rather an understanding of how to use information in the best possible way. Based on this definition, we formulate a survey instrument. So we define information literacy as a collection of skills to consume information while considering the background or political context of each information to make informed decisions. We concluded that information literacy must at least consist of 3 skills, which are The first one is information management, the skills to use information and communication technology to search, select, and organize information efficiently. The second one is security skills, the skills to use ICT and digital media with minimal risk and dangers. And the third one is critical thinking, the skills to make informed choices and judgments about certain information by using reflective reasoning. After we define and formulate the survey instrument, we decide that this study use a quantitative approach to answer the previous research question. Since the research was conducted during the COVID-19 situation, we were obliged to collect the data virtually through online survey. The population of this study is youths living in Jakarta and Yogyakarta with the age range between 17 and 24 years old. Why we chose Jakarta and Yogyakarta? Because these two regions are the two with the highest digital literacy index in Indonesia. So supposedly the youths living in these two regions has quite great digital skills or information literacy skills. The number of respondents that fill out our survey was 428 respondents. And here are our results. We construct participants' profiles based on the demographic variables first. And the table on the left side is our demographic profile. As you can see, based on gender, there are mostly consists of female, while age, people with 20 years old is the most significant respondents for our survey. And also education, high school graduates is more than bachelor graduate for our respondents. Then we perform a series of t-tests to compare the means between the two groups. The tests are necessary to determine whether there are significant differences between each information literacy skill based on gender and education level. So the table on the right-hand side is the t-test result based on gender. If we are looking at the significances value, we can assume there are no significant differences between male and female skills in information management, security, and critical thinking skills. And move on to the table on the left-hand side. This is the table of t-test result based on education level. If we see the significant value in the table, we can conclude that there are significant differences in information literacy between participants with high school and bachelor degree. Even though there are significant differences between high school and bachelor levels, but education levels does not quite play a role to increase participants' critical thinking skill. Now, since t-test can only be used to compare means between two groups, we also conduct ANOVA tests to compare information literacy based on monthly expenses group. The table on the right-hand side is the ANOVA test result based on expenses group. Based on the result, there are significant differences between each expenses group in terms of information literacy. To analyze further which expenses group has significant differences, we conduct post hoc tests. In the information management skills, significant differences occur between all expenses group. On other hand, for security and critical thinking skills, there are significant differences among participants with expenses between $35.1 and more than $72 per month. Next, we also conduct a series of correlation and regression analysis to determine each demographic variable associated with information literacy. Based on the result of the correlation, age is significantly associated with information management skills, and information management skills is affected by age, education level, and monthly expenses. Also, it appears expenses have the biggest role since it's significantly associated with information management, security, and critical thinking skills. Move on to the discussion part. So based on the statistical result, we can conclude that there are no significant differences between male and female on terms of information literacy. This is a good outcome and breaks the common stereotype that males are assumed to have better digital skills than females. Another interesting result, there are significant differences between high school and bachelor level participants. This phenomenon can pose a bigger problem if youths are unable to continue their education. The result serves as a reminder that we need to focus on strengthening information literacy at all levels of education. Currently, the Indonesian government just released digital literacy curriculum, and the Kominfo is they held the ongoing campaign of digital literacy, which is also good, but this also serves as a reminder that we need to focus on underprivileged citizens. And another discussion point that we take is lower expenses group also have lower information literacy. In short, they have less ability to search for credible information and use them to make informed decisions. And the biggest role towards information management, security skills, and critical thinking was monthly expenses. This result also encouraged our previous recommendation to focus information literacy efforts to underprivileged people. Underprivileged people have become the most vulnerable group in the society affected by misinformation and online risk. Other than information or digital literacy, conventional literacy must also be improved. And the last one, the common themes of vaccine misinformation is the vaccine itself can cause COVID-19 infection, and the vaccine contains microchips that can track people. If the government, the society, and social media platform work together, we can denounce these themes of vaccine misinformation. We end this section by acknowledging implications for future research. We encourage to develop further dimension of information literacy skills and have a larger number of participants from various age groups. We also urge research regarding information literacy on underprivileged people in Indonesia, especially those who are not prioritized on the National Digital Literacy Program. Another recommendation is to analyze current digital literacy index in a society. By having an initial index, we can plan for a better targeted digital literacy program for each group. That's all from me and my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mbak Mia, for bringing very interesting research to the table. We know that misinformation has become the battlefield in Indonesia during this COVID-19 pandemic. And interestingly, based on your research, despite being a digital native, it seems like the digital literacy skills among youth are still very. So yeah, I think we have a lot to discuss on that topic later on. Please, once again, I would like to invite all participants as well as the presenters. If you have questions, please do write it down on the chat box or just raise your hand. I got information from the committee that our first presenter is not present. Hence, we will proceed to question and answer session. We have already had one question here from Dani from UPN Veteran Yogyakarta addressed to Mas Rana. on freelance journalists. The complete question is on the chat box, but one of the highlights here is Danny is asking, is it enough to rely just on the association of freelance journalists, or we need to give a strengthening legal instruments even before the freelance journalists become more popular? Mas Rana, please.
Okay, thank you, Mbak or Mas Dani from Veteran. Okay, yeah, I think we have to take both, yeah, because it is important to freelance journalists to rely on association, for example, AJI or PWI, because they have more powerful to negotiate with maybe government or sources, etc. And the second one, it's important to build or with another journalist make a union, a labor union. In Indonesia, I interview Mas Hasmito from AJI, and he said that there are 50 or 15 labor union in Indonesia, and there are 15,000 or 7,000 media in Indonesia. Of course, it's not. It is important to for freelance journalists to more powerful. And for the third one, I think it is important to freelance journalists need to cover life of himself or herself. Maybe for the example, I interview some reporter or some journalists in Bandung. They have BPJS, but they have to pay by themselves, not from the institution of the news or the media. Yeah, I think that both of them they can take for being a member of union, a member of association, and need to cover life of herself or himself.
Thank you, Mas Rana. So probably the protection from the state in the form of regulation, I don't know, could probably help the position of these freelance journalists, perhaps?
Yeah. In Indonesian labor law and press law in Indonesia, I found that the journalists, especially freelancer, is being in the worst situation because, for example, in that I told in my slide, they have no contract, they have no insurance, and nothing from the law, Indonesian labor law or press law, can cover them and cover the insurance for freelance journalists. Freelance here in terminology journalists, I think different with freelance for maybe freelance artist or freelancer, freelance designer, because they have a relation with the boss, with the editor in the media, with the maybe chief of editor. It's different if we can see freelance designer. Freelance designer has a relation with the client who has pay him or pay her. That's the different thing. So if the media or institution does not cover them, I think journalist has to cover herself or himself. And the other important things, the new contract, the new scheme that I found, for example, for Kumparan or Suara.com, it states that seems like equal partnership, but actually I found that the partner has to have own cooperation before they or he has partnership with Kumparan or Suara.com or PRMN. And I think that it's unfair for the journalists. So they have to fight and try to make the partnership equally before and after the contract.
Thank you, Mas Rana, for covering this complex situation here on freelance journalists. Once again, I would like to remind and invite all participants to ask questions, and also the presenters, if you like to, or if you wish to ask questions to each other. We still have probably 5 to 10 minutes for this question and answer session. While waiting for the floor to ask questions, I have one question to Mbak Mia. Mbak Mia, I noted that you mentioned on your finding that there is differences between how high school and those who are in university navigate misinformation on COVID-19. It is very much aligned with Japelidi research, which mapped that majority of digital literacy education happens at university level. So I am curious if you, during your research, you may find or you may see how do these youth who go to university acquire their skill. Are they learning by themselves, or are they like joining any digital literacy programs? And do you have any proposal on how can we create a more inclusive digital literacy program for those who, for instance, are still on high school levels?
Thank you, Mbak Dia. This is a very interesting question, and unfortunately, we don't delve deep with the reasoning of why do the bachelor degree participant have a higher degree of digital skills. But I have my own assumption is because we teach critical thinking in the university level, while students in high school or lower educational degree, they don't seem to understand critical thinking or use critical thinking that much as part of their education. It is mostly a one-way education. So I think we need to revise that, to revise the education system in the high school and maybe lower since the primary school. We need to teach these students the critical thinking skills, especially because in terms of security, in terms of information management, we can teach them easily, more easily rather than the critical thinking part. And in misinformation, we really need this critical thinking to be as sharp as we can to differentiate between hoaxes or misinformation and the facts out there. There is my assumption, Mbak Dia.
Thank you so much, Mbak Mia. It seems like the structure of the curriculum may affect the digital literacy skills, among youth. Hence, there is quite a difference between how those who are in high school and university, navigate misinformation. Thank you
Yes,
so
indeed.
much. Once again, we're still waiting for more questions from the floors here. Please, if you have questions, we just listened to very interesting topics on how, on the precariousness of freelance journalists during pandemic COVID-19 and how information literacy can subdue vaccine misinformation among youth. So
I actually have a question for Pak Rana, because
yes, please,
Pak Rana's research is very interesting. I think if we're looking back to the root of the problem of freelance journalists, Pak Rana, what do you think is the source of freelance journalists? How can freelance journalists can be so popular and it became a very complex and multi-layered problems nowadays? I mean, if you can step back and take a look at the beginning, at the root of the problem, maybe we can have a solution for this situation.
Yeah, Mbak Mia. Okay. Yeah, I think it's related with the model of business media in Indonesia. According to Tapsel, he wrote on his book that one of the biggest media model in Indonesia rely on big like conglomeracy in Indonesia. And after the digitalization, it become more higher and higher relation between the conglomerate or the investor or the capital. So if maybe Mbak Mia know that in gig economy concept, it seems like we can do anything by free time and free space or free place. For example, for Google or maybe for freelance designer, you can design anytime, you can design anywhere. But actually, in the journalism context, they have no really free time or free place to work, because the deadline is 24 hours. They have to write the news every time, and they have to send the news as soon as they can. Of course, they can type or they can write anywhere they want, but journalists different between journalists and maybe freelancer designer, because a journalist has responsibility to make the truth, to make the news which is people can trust. So I think that unfair if we compare between their job with their responsibility in this situation. and that's why I have been searching. I've been see observing of their activities, and I found that it is important to journalists itself herself themselves to struggle to fight to make government being or make a better regulation. For example, my Sasmito from Aji said that Aji struggling to make a fair pay or wages for the freelancer. Maybe for the free time or BPJS or something like that. And the facilities they have, they hope the media institution can give them more facilities like a laptop or handphone to make news better. From 15 freelance journalists that I found, only 2 freelance journalists who has handphone or laptop from the institution, and 13 less they have to buy themselves, to buy himself, and yeah, they have to try to buy some tools or equipment by themselves. That's why, Mbak Mia, I think the model of business, media business in Indonesia, it's one of the big problem. It can, but yes, I think it's not in Indonesia, of course. I saw the journalists in Philippines or Thailand. They have the same problem too. That's why for the context Southeast Asia, the problem is maybe have to think think better. I think that, Mbak Mia.
Okay, thank you, Mas Rana. It clearly eye-opening for me because I'm not from a journalistic background. So thank you for your description.
You're welcome, Mbak Mia.
Seems like the situation is very unfavorable, yeah, for the freelance journalists. But I believe there is somehow linkage between our 2 topics today, in which journalists probably can play a crucial role in providing information and combating misinformation. Yeah, during this pandemic era. However, again, there is a problem with works which are affecting the freelance journalists. I got notified by the committee that although our first presenter cannot present today, but they have submitted the pre-recorded video. Hence, we will see their presentation video. So please the committee to play the video now.
Hello, my name is Raden Arditya Mutwara Lokita. You can call me Arditya. This is my pre-record presentation for AKAS 10 International Conference. Me and my colleagues did the research entitled COVID-19 in Online Media, a quantitative content analysis of the trend of COVID-19 news coverage in online media kompas.com, tempo.co, detik.com, and liputan6.com. I'll go straight to the preliminary. COVID-19 was first found in Wuhan and continued spreading to other countries in early January 2020. It becomes a problem, especially a health system, but it doesn't stop there. The economic, political, social, and culture are also affected. In the time of uncertainty, public need information to hang on and to catch up with the latest update about the virus. So what kind of information that they need? It's an objective, accurate, and credible information. So the news is the answer, because news used as a knowledge in handling and controlling virus. Our research methodology, we use the quantitative content analysis with purposive sampling, and the result of reliability test is good. It is more than 70% or 0.7. We taken the news about the virus of COVID-19 from January till March. We choose that because in Indonesia, news about COVID began at January, like early January. And why March? March is the mark of the first time Indonesia found the positive case of COVID-19. Exactly at the March date 2, 2020. After we collecting all the news, we counted, and then we have from kompas.com like as much as 183 articles. From tempo.co we have 840. From detik.com we have 688. From liputan6.com we have 747. So the total of the article is 2,458 articles. The concept of objectivity of information and the agenda setting theory, we use that to look or to analyze the data we get. And this is the result. From the health information, I can tell that the kompas.com and tempo.co have the higher percentages compared to detik.com and liputan6.com. Kompas.com with tempo.co have the 97%, the same. And compared to detik.com to liputan6.com, they have the lower percentages, lower than 60%. Detik.com is about 25%, and liputan6.com has 48%. And from the use information, we can look the result is different too. Compass.com and tempo.co tend to show the higher percentages of the spread of the virus in the news, about 70% and 79%. And news about prevention of the virus has the lower percentages. From compass.com is 41%, while tempo.co is 19%. Otherwise, the opposite of them is detik.com and liputan6.com. They have the news about the spread of the virus is lower than the prevention. The news about the spread of the virus is lower than 60%. From detik.com is 29%, and from liputan6.com just 14%. But the news about prevention is as much as 53% from detik.com, and from liputan6.com is 65%. So this is the discussion. We take compass.com, tempo.co, detik.com, and liputan6.com because they are the top 4, the online media in Indonesia. We get from the alexa.com site that has the top 10 online media in Indonesia, and we take the top 4 of it. And about the objectivity of information, it consists of 2 things. It is factuality and impartiality. While the agenda setting, it's about how the media select and salience the certain information or news. And then the dimension of the news, it's about health, economy, political, defense and security, tourism, and sport. While the health theme is about virus description, symptoms, transmission, treatment, and prevention. The conclusion of all the data that we get is the news on 4 media are not objective, especially the information about health. We can see that from compass.com and tempo.co tend to show the news about the spread of the virus at the first place. And the second place is about the disease prevention or prevention of the disease. Conversely, the detik.com and liputan6.com show the higher level about the news about disease prevention as the top level, and the second level is news about the spread of the virus. So from the for media, this is not balanced because the one use is higher than the other. Kompas.com and Tempo.co tend to focus about health, and while the Detik.com and Liputan6.com tend to support their companies to make profit, not too much focus to health over the situation of pandemic. Thank you. I think that's all. That's it. That's all that I have to say and that I have to record. And see you at the conference day. Thank you.
Thank you for the committee for playing the pre-recorded video on news on COVID-19. It seems that COVID-19 has become the main agenda for the top 4 mass media in Indonesia, although they may probably have different agenda. We still have 5 to 10 minutes before we wrap up the discussion. So once again, I would like to invite the presenters or the participants to ask questions. And while being waiting for the question to come from the floor, I have one more question to Mbak Mia. It is partly related with the previous presentation about the media portrayal on COVID-19. In your research, did you find or did you manage to see whether these youth consume mass media or use mass media as their source of information on COVID-19? Or they completely ignore mass media and use social media as their main source of information?
Yes, thank you, Mbak Dia. During our research, we found that the youth still use mass media as one of their sources for information, but they tend to believe the information from social media rather than the mass media. And this is not the result from our, or this is not the focus of our research, but several of them said that why they tend to use social media more than the regular mass media is because the layout of a mass media website itself is not comfortable for them. Even the application is not comfortable for them, unlike social media. So this is a major challenge, I think, for the mass media industry to gather youth's attention. But they still use it, and it's a good thing. Only if mass media able to reform the layout, the user interface design, I think we can grab these youth's attention better.
Thank you, Mbak Mia. Yeah, as they are more into visual, nowadays.
Yes.
Visual generation. Okay, I'm looking at the chat box, and seems like there is no more questions from the audiences. So I think we can wrap up the discussion. Thank you once again, Mbak Mia, Mas Rana, for presenting your research, for giving very insightful findings, and for answering the questions. I cannot conclude, but I think there is somehow a linkage. We have listened to the presentation. We see that COVID-19 has brought unprecedented impacts to our life. It affects work and reveal the vulnerability of freelance position among journalists. We also listen how COVID-19 has become the main agenda for top 4 mass media in Indonesia. And last but not least, we also listen how misinformation becomes one of the battlefields during the pandemic, and how information literacy may help youth to navigate misinformation. misinformation with certain conditions. I think that's all what I can highlight for today. Before we wrap up and end the session, I would like to invite all the participants to turn on their camera so we can have a group photo. It is mandatory from the committee. So yes, if you are able to, please turn on the camera so we can see the happy and nice faces here. Okay, the committee, please let us know if you have taken the pictures.
Okay, Mbak, we all ready.
Okay, I will count 1, 2, 3. Please smile. Okay, is it enough or should we retake the photo?
Yes, Mbak.
Okay. Okay, thank you, the committee. Yeah, that's all. I will end the session. Once again, thank you, Mbak Mia, Mas Rana, all the
Thank you,
participants who've
Mbak
been
Dia.
joining the session today. Hope to see you in another event. Stay healthy, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mbak Mia. Thank you, Mbak Dia. Thank you.
Mas Rana, Mbak Dia, thank you.
Terima
Thank you,
kasih.
everyone. Thank you, committee.